Welcome back. Part 3 of the Tele-Tone Restore. Before we get started on anything this morning as far as changing parts, I've made some progress on the tuner. We still have other problems on the main chassis. I haven't changed any of the paper caps yet. But I kept looking at this tuner and it just didn't make sense the way the schematic was reading. Sam shows a 6AU6 as an RF amp, and the connections on that tube socket were nothing like what's showing there on the schematic. As an example, pins 5 and 6 were grounded. It runs from chassis up to the tube socket, pins 5 and 6. And that looks like a factory connection. I mean, I don't think anyone's done that about having that copper strip on it. And if you look on Sam's, pin 5 is a plate of the 6AU6. Pin 6 is the B plug, goes to the B plus source through this 1000 ohm resistor. So I knew that wasn't right. Well, here's what I found. This is another Tele-Tone model, and look the way the tuner's designed on this. We've got a 6J6 for an RF amp and an oscillator too, V1 and V3, and then the 6AG5 is a mixer. Well, looky there. Pins 5 and 6 of that RF amp are ground. Of course, 3 and 4 would be the filaments, these two. 1 and 2 are tied together, but pins 1 and 2 of the RF amp socket are tied together. So this is a correct schematic for the tuner. This is another Tele-Tone model, but it's not the model that we're working on. So apparently they used a different tuner in this particular model. But anyway, 5 and 6 are ground, which is correct. 1 and 2 are tied together. And they just come back to a connection on the wafer of the tuner right there. And then there's a gimmick wire, it's called. It goes between pins 1 of these first two tubes. It's right there. There's a gimmick wire. And indeed it is connected between pins 1 of those two tubes. This is a 1000 ohm resistor. It's a 130 volt source, comes in here. That's a resistor that was burning whenever we first plugged the set up and tried to do a test on it. The reason being, this was like 60 ohms to ground, because someone had worked on this, had put in a 6AU6, and it's supposed to be a 6J6. So I replaced the resistor. That's a new 1000 ohm resistor. And to make a long story short, I know I'm rambling, but put a 6J6 for the RF amp. And now we do have some noise. The tuner is active. Our B plus is where it's supposed to be on the wafer side of the tuner there on that resistor. So I think we've got the tuner the way it needs to be now. So this correct tuner schematic's found in Sam's 87 folder 13, I think it is. It is a Tele-Tone, but it's a later chassis. While the model 149's in Sam's 56. So that tells me this might be a later version of the 149 where they went to a different type tuner. I don't know, lots of questions with no answers, but anyway, I think we have the tuner. We're getting some noise through it anyway. We've got a few things that are kind of strange on this set. That 4-section cap right there, only 2 are being used. The other 2 have black putty on them. That cap, that other can type, It has black putty on 2 of the leads on it that aren't being used. And we got a green wire. It's not attached to anything. Here's the other end of it over here. From there to there. This cap and this cap down here. And in tracing them down, that's these 2 right here, C5 and C6. This cap is C1A on the SAM schematic. It goes to pin 3 and 5 of the 6X5. Alright, right here's pins 3 and 5. So it meanders around, and that's that cap right there, 40 mic. And the minus goes to the minus side of the rectifier, which goes back to the AC. There's a minus side, there's a rectifier. And this brown wire goes all the way back to the AC input terminal. This filter cap, that's C4A. Now C4B is right here, but there's no filter choke. But there is a resistor from here to this point. So I guess whoever worked on this, they done away with this filter choke. And if you look on this cap, on the markings on the can, they do correspond with 125 and 100. So that's basically a 130 volt source right there. So it's B plus. This is a 400 volt here, the B plus plus. And then the B minus is right down here where those 2 separate caps are that I showed you. The way that wire is hanging loose, I would say it was on this cap, this filter cap at one time. Why anyone would do all of this, I don't know. But apparently the set worked. We have a raster, and horizontal and vertical seem to be working. So I guess we'll just assume all of this worked at one time. One more time I'm going to check all these B plus voltages, and if they're okay, and I'll probably still proceed with the paper caps. We'll start in the horizontal and vertical circuits down there. And here's what's happened. Last few times I've turned it on, I've lost my scan. Well, pretty simple fix on the scan problem. We had a bad 12SN7 tube. I have 7 spare 12SN7s, plus the 5 that are in the horizontal and vertical circuits on this set. So what I did, I went through, I tested the 5 that tested the best. That's what I have in the set right now. We'll start changing some of these paper caps. Well, I've changed one cap so far. This one right here. But I thought while I was in here, I'd just start checking some of these resistors as I go. And I've checked practically all of these in this area right here. Some of them have drifted upwards, some of them by a lot. So as an example, these 2 were 47 Ks, 2 watt, and here's the original. And look how big that is compared to the 2 watt that I put in. See what this one checks. 73,000. It should be 47. And according to Sam's, this is supposed to be another 47. Now, I think the color band on it is 43. But either way, it's checking 80,000. So I'll replace those two resistors along with that first paper cap. And I'm just going to continue on. Check this resistor and just continue on around here. Not too worried about the audio, that's what these two tubes are. But this circuit here, I'm going to replace all the resistors and caps. Well, I think we're at a stopping point now for the day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anyway, there's a few resistors that are still okay. Now I may go ahead and replace them anyway, but for now, to save a little extra work, I'm just going to leave them in. But you can see I've replaced a number of resistors and of course the paper caps. So we still don't have any video on the CRT, but we do have some garbled sound. Okay. I think I've changed all of the paper caps. You can change the 3 down there in the audio circuit. No change in the picture. We still have some garbled sound, but no video. So I think my next step, I'm going to go through here and check these resistors. This IF circuit here, first, second, and third IF tubes. I'm going to check these resistors in all of these 7-pin tube sockets, around these 7-pin tubes. I've already pulled the first one out. That goes from here up to pin 1 of this first IF tube. Supposed to be 11,000 ohms right here. And you can see brown, brown, orange, so that is 11,000. Reading 26. So I suspect that most of these resistors in those circuits are probably bad. So that's my next step. I'm just going to start with the first IF and go through and check all the resistors, put in some new ones where needed. We'll see if we make any improvements. Well, we're starting to work a little better. Changed a lot of resistors, several new ones in these circuits set through here. And after doing that, finding a wire that had been cut. This is the end of it here, and there's the other end right there. Still couldn't get any picture, although I was getting some sound. And I found that minus 140 volts missing. And it's going up to the DC restoration circuit. I knew I had video back in here because I checked it with the scope. Just couldn't get it to the CRT. Well, that's what that green wire, that's what it was all about. So I just ran a new wire and attached it to this point right here. And we still don't have a great picture, but we do have a picture. And we've got 2 other problems. See, we've got a crawl, and I'm pretty positive that that's the electrolytics that I haven't changed yet. And we've also still got a tuner problem. That's channel 5 that I'm using right now, because channel 6 doesn't work. So I had to change my Bandersentv modulator to output channel 5, and that's how I was able to get some video. So we're definitely looking a little better. I think my next step is going to be the electrolytics. See if we can sort all of them out and put some new ones in. Hopefully that'll take care of that crawl that's in the picture. There's the resistors that I've changed, and of course the paper caps and a couple of tubes, 6AU6 tubes. I think these resistors probably have 80% of them checked, but I need to go back and check those other 20% just to see if they're within specs or not. I think the set will work okay with the resistors we have left in there, but hey, while I'm into it, might as well put some new ones in if there's some more that are out of tolerance. So that's going to do it for part 3. Been quite an adventure in this video. Modifications that weren't on the schematic. We was able to figure that tuner out. And then we found that missing voltage today that was keeping our video from working. So some pretty good improvements this time. Next time we'll be changing those electrolytics, getting some new ones put in. Hopefully that'll really improve the picture. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Hey, if you like this video, we have many more on our channel, so why not consider subscribing? We would really appreciate it. Thanks.